You you just simply cannot stop me from putting Moonshadow into every deck I build. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another modern video. And today we had a tier 3 donation that has changed a lot from the original submission. The request was to play Abigale Eloquent First-Year in a Death's Shadow list. And this is kind of a neat card. It is a flying first strike lifelinker. When it enters, up to one other target creature loses all abilities, and then you put a flying counter, first strike counter, and lifelink counter on that creature. So the idea is get a Death Shadow into play, and then even if it's not big, you are immediately going to make it into a 13/13 flying first strike lifelinker. And since it doesn't have this ability anymore, you're not going to kill your Death Shadow by gaining the life, which is something that sometimes happens in Legacy with something like Swords to Plowshares potentially killing a Death Shadow and another creature at the same time. When this deck list was submitted to me, it was kind of a mess. It was just trying to do too much stuff. It was trying to be a Felia, Warp, Ketramuse, Death Shadow, Abigale list all at the same time, and I had to do some serious cuts. And in thinking about Street Wraith, my mind immediately went to Moonshadow as something that I would want to be doing with this deck. Moonshadow is something that grows quickly and synergizes with Street Wraiths and things like Baubles and Fetch Lands and Surveil Lands, but I can do something really cool with it that I can't do in Legacy. I can just absolutely discard my hand with Psychic Frog to not only grow Psychic Frog, but also grow Moonshadow at the same time. I discard a land card, well, that's a permanent that is being put into my graveyard from anywhere. So every Psychic Frog activation that discards a permanent is worth 2 power, 1 on Psychic Frog and 1 on Moonshadow, which is kind of wild. And once these creatures are large, I can consider then Abigaling them to give them flying, first strike, and lifelink. Despite the deck being built around Abigale, I don't think we want 4 of her. I don't think conceptually that makes sense. This is not a card that is usually going to be played on turn 2. This is a card that is going to be played on turn 4 or something like that. So we want to have access to it relatively consistently, but I don't think we need the entire playset. So conceptually, the game plan is hopefully start on Moonshadow in many games. If not, work towards Death Shadow while using Psychic Frog in the mid game. And then once we have a threat down, we can hold up various pieces of counter magic after that. This is probably not going to be quite as smooth as regular Death Shadow, but hopefully it'll generate some sweet screenshots. The original version of the deck had a couple of Rot Curse Rakshasa in it, and I'm going to keep one. I don't mind it as something that can attack for 5 with Trample, die, and then grow a Moonshadow. And then after that be used for the Renew thing to put a Decayed counter on my opponent's creatures so they can't block. That all conceptually sounds fine to me. But I have tried to make this look as much like a reasonable Death Shadow deck as I could. We're maybe missing out on something like Nethergoyf as additional redundant 1-drop plays that can turn on Stubborn Denials and whatnot a little bit sooner. But this looks like a reasonable pile of cards. As far as the sideboard goes, I don't know that I've played Modern in the last month or two at all, so I just copied a Death Shadow sideboard here, and it looks like they have been splashing or red for powerful sideboard haymakers and otherwise are playing things that can counter colorless stuff. I feel pretty good about the main deck, but as far as sideboard nuance, I have zero understanding of Modern right now. So let's hop into a league and see how this goes. Folks, if you end up needing any cards for this deck or anything else, please check out toamagic.com. Use promo code ThrabenU to save a little bit on your order. I've got about 40 cards that I'm going to be getting from TOA myself. I finally put together that EDH deck that I have been saying that I'm going to put together, and now I'm just waiting until Monday for the BNR update to make sure that nothing I want gets banned or there's no major game-shaking commander changes. And this has the potential to be very funny because this releases about a week after the BNR update. So if Commander died and the sky is falling, I might have to change my cart a little bit. All right, let's battle. All right, opening hand is a little uncertain, but we can, in theory, work towards a Death Shadow relatively quickly. Suspend Riftbolt while I have double Straight Wraith in hand. Hot diggity dog. I imagine that I need to play Magic. Okay. Surveil. Counter spell. I think I'm tapping out for frogs. My game plan conceptually is play a Psychic Frog, put a Lifelink counter on it, and dump my entire hand into the graveyard. That is how I intend on winning this game. Spend another Riftbolt, that's fine. Alright. Rainstone? Wild. There's a Saga a thing here? Greatness at any cost. There's a Psychic Frog. Rift Bolt. Down to 8. I think it takes land drop plus 3 spells to kill me. Well, here we go. It'll push down. Thoughtseize down. It'll push down. Stern Scolding down. We're all in, baby. Stubborn Denial down. Psychic Frog down. Abigale. Counters on Psychic Frog. 7/8 first strike flying lifelink attacking on turn 3. Yeah. Son of a bitch. Alright. Opponent to 11. I will die to 2 of my opponent's 3 cards being live. There's Elegant Parlor. Card on top seems bad for me. That is a land drop. Searing Blaze is the last card live. Skullcrack, the last card, is live. GG's. Maybe I can get away with not trying to cycle both Street Wraiths. Okay. What is this counter? Creature spells. I did not see any creature spells that game. Looks like a whole bunch of the burn decks are different with different amounts of creatures. I think I'm just not going to sideboard. Hopefully I body them with Psychic Frog. Does not seem like a matchup I am built for with all of my like life loss and stuff that looks like this. I guess opponent mulliganing hyper aggressively here for I have no idea what. I'm again going to assume that I should be attempting to play Magic. This is 16 already. I will potentially surveil land. Potentially just damage myself with Watery Graves. Arena of Glory down. Alright, so there definitely are creatures and I just did not see them. So 16, 15, 14, 12. I think I'm just going to surveil on the first one. I would not mind finding like a Psychic Frog here. I mean, okay. I will take the Abigale. I will fetch Watery Grave, go to 12. This is a Death's Shadow that is killable to a red spell, but if my opponent does not kill this and I get to Abigale, upside is crazy. If we make it to my turn, this is no longer killable via 1 red spell. I can turn this into a 4/4 instantly. So there's Abigale. Do this on Death's Shadow to remove the ability. 13/13 flying first strike lifelinker. Please don't have white removal. Uh-huh. I'm upset. I'm upset. This sucks. I've done the thing twice in a row, and it has not been good enough. I guess that's what my opponent was mulliganing for. I will play a Moonshadow. It is not great right now, but potentially will get bigger if Abigale dies. Skullcrack. Annoying. Not getting the life here is like super relevant. Like I can just die to 2 things to the face here. I mean, land drops are great for me. Lands are terrible for me. Not even a fetch land that grows Moonshadow here. Alright, opponent to 16, and then 15 for regular damage. Not paying the life there. Opponent fetches. No fun lands to get. Looks like my opponent is just passing the turn again. Bobble will grow Moonshadow by 1. You are getting an Arena of Glory. I don't care about you drawing lands. Come in for 3. Up to 8. Lightning Bolt my face. Probably not a great sign. Redraw with Bobble. It's not a counter spell, unfortunately. Arena of Glory not doing anything. Death Shadow's real big. So let's play that. 8, 9, 10. Well, I guess this is 2 attacks worth. Death Shadow should kill next turn. I think I am not fetching to grow Moonshadow here. On the off chance that that singular point of life is a deal breaker. Opponent to 8. Abigale gaining the life does decrease my Death Shadow damage. Feels like I should be dead on average here. Alright, that's 2 points of damage. Opponent is chilling. I'm not casting that. The first strike here is kind of awkward. Send him in. Lightning Bolt on Moonshadow occurs. So this is going to deal 1 point of damage, bringing my opponent to 7. I don't remember if I need to have a priority stop here. Okay, opponent concedes there. It feels like I just dodged a massive bullet. GG's. Deflecting Palm, huh? That is kind of wild. Something like that is worth thought seizing. Boy, I hope I draw another land. I'm willing to keep this one. If I don't draw the other land, it becomes a little awkward. But 3 Moonshadows and a Bobble backing them up, like, sounds pretty darn good to me. This is also a hand that does not necessarily have a bunch of innate life loss in it. I will just play a Moonshadow here over a Thoughtseize. I do have to shock to do this. There's Moonshadow. On the off chance that there's an Eidolon or something, I'm going to go ahead and play this out now. Don't think I crack it until next turn, even though I would really like to draw a land. I can change my mind based on what my opponent does. Elegant Parlor. Chandra's Incinerator. Got it. Miracle a Thunderous Wrath. Wild. Oh, well, that's not going at my face. I accept. Alright, that's opponent's only land. That means they have a bunch of burn in hand. I'm going to save this Bobble. Nice. So there's a Moonshadow. I will play this out for the same logic as the last one, but I'm going to wait to crack these until I play the other Moonshadow. So I can cycle twice, but that doesn't do anything. So that's fine. All of this is just not going at my face. Abigale plus Moonshadow. Now that I don't have yet another Moonshadow, I'm going to go ahead and start cracking these. Oh, there's another land for my opponent. Here's a Bobble for me. I'm going to do both of these now in case I find a Street Wraith. I can potentially get this outside of range. I have Psychic Frog to go in on if my Moonshadow dies. Searing Blaze will kill Moonshadow. I'm at 14. Slightly awkwardly, Abigale is black-black. I think I just accept. Oh, wait, I do have a Swamp. Nice. So there's the Frog. Arena of Glory comes down. Bolt Wave. I'm at 10. So here we go. There goes a Thoughtseize. There goes a Counter Spell. There goes a Counter Spell. There goes an Abigale. There goes a Stubborn Denial. Here comes an Abigale. Abigale on the Frog. Send in. Skullcrack buys my opponent a turn. They take 6. I don't gain the life. They need 3 live cards to kill me at the rate of 3 damage per card. That is a Searing Blood. Puts me to 4. Suspending a Rift Bolt. I imagine gaining 6 going to 10 here is just a win. So yeah. So I can technically play this, but the first strike with Lifelink is incredibly awkward with the Death Shadow. So I think Death Shadow just chills in my hand here. So at a rate of 3 damage per card, my opponent's stuff is not cutting it. Down to 7. So they need a 4 and a 3 or some sort of deflecting palm type situation. Cool game of Magic one way or another here. But I would really like the owl thing to just win. The owl thing just won. That's proof of concept. GG. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you're looking to store your decks online, you're not going to find a better website. It's super organized and easy to use, and I sort everything that I do into a ton of format-specific folders, and you can customize the way that you use Moxfield to your liking. Whether you like text views or visual views of multiple different natures, Moxfield has it all. And it's so easy to use, you might even say that it's a snap. Okay, this is a 7-card hand that doesn't do anything that has 2 redraws. I get 2 redraws from baubles plus cards for turn. I have some disruption to buy time. I don't feel great about this. I think I'll just keep it. Opponent mulliganing aggressively. Is there an oops all spells type deck in this format that I have to worry about? No, okay, it's just going to be Duders. Duders are fine. Thoughtseize target you. I can't answer the Ragavan immediately. I'll take that one. I think I should have bobbled myself prior to doing this so that I also knew what I was drawing. Counter spell, sure. I'll take my bobble redraws. My opponent's first mana sources probably entering tapped here. And then hopefully I just counterspell their second thing and work towards finding something to do with Abigale. Non-creature spell. Need to hold counterspell up this turn. I will just be passing. Basic Plains, Voice of Victory. I will counterspell that. Psychic Frog. Ye old game of annoying creatures. Grow Moonshadow immediately. I think I'll just pick up the basic without a Death Shadow here. Throw down a Psychic Frog. Both of these creatures are going to have a form of evasion versus Ajani, so this is not too bad. Resolves. I really wish this was a creature spell that I could just discard to Psychic Frog and do the thing with, but it's not. Shame. I am down to discard Thoughtseize. I am confident about that. I think I just nuke both of my other cards. Yeah. We just let Psychic Frog do the stupid Psychic Frog thing. Do I care about graveyard stuff in any capacity? No. Doesn't look like it at a quick glance. So 1, 2, 3. Send in with Psychic Frog. Alright, opponent to 16. I draw a bauble. I guess I can take the redraw and convert the redraw into a Psychic Frog counter if I need to. Alright, cool, you're just drawing a land. That is great for me. Watery Grave is kind of whatever. Don't know that I am even playing that card versus just dumping it into Psychic Frog. Take 3. Yeah. Discard you. Discard you. I don't miss these play patterns. Send in for 6. Don't even need to give it flying this turn. Draw a card. That is a Street Wraith. I'm willing to cycle that. Drawing a counterspell is just so good. Hey, a counterspell. Opponent can now surveil. And Galvanic Discharge is not enough, even with some banked energy from the first time around. Alright, I get attacked by the cats for 3. Opponent draws that land. Fatal Push is fine. So I don't have lethal this turn. I can only hit for 8. Accordingly, I think I am holding my spells. I could hit for 8 and shut off Marsh Flats. I don't know that that's relevant. Soldier's Edict as well. Yeah, seems like I'm good to go. So, wow, a 3rd Surveil land. Crazy. That is not something that you see in Legacy deck building. Okay, Psychic Frog solos that game as a fair and balanced Magic the Gathering card. GG. I am interested in pyroclasming the shit out of all of my opponent's creatures And I imagine that Stern Scolding ends up being pretty good here as well. What is not good? Stubborn Denial seems like it misses a bunch of critical cards. I'm gonna get rid of that. I don't know that we should expect the average game to be that easy. My opponent there started on very few cards. If I am fetching Blood Crypt specifically to fuel Pyroclasms, counterspells get a little harder to cast. In an aggro matchup, Straight Wraiths are less necessary. This is perhaps not at its best here either. These still do like fuel Moonshadow and get me through my deck. There's something to be said for that. Go down 2 Straight Wraiths. And I think I'm going to outright just add the extra land rather than doing a substitution there. I mean, I got Pyroclasm. I am in for this. Opponent to 19, 17, Ocelot Pride. I will just let that do its thing and then Pyroclasm my opponent's board on either turn 2 or turn 3. Woohoo. Let's see what you're drawing. Deafening. No, that's a Thraben Charm. Looks like Deafening Silence. I can exile my graveyard. Okay, got it. I'm gonna just get this out of the way. I'm gonna say no to that. And I will. Ooh, nice. Twice the number of creatures you control. Understood. 19. Arena of Glory. Goblin Bombardment. Seems good. Do I let my opponent lower their life total a bit? I might let my opponent lower my life total a bit. I think this Psychic Frog is just a distraction. So let's play this as such. I'm hoping to get a whole bunch of cards worth of value out of a Pyroclasm. I don't know if I flinch if my opponent just casts Thraben Charm. Alright, now I get to decide. So I can kind of go all in on this. I can put 2 counters on this pretty easily. I just let this go. Try to keep Abigale plus Death Shadow. I think I'm going to just treat this like the distraction that I originally intended it to be. Oh, ho, ho. So my opponent's going to get some nice Goblin Bombardment burn action going on here. And then this Pyroclasm is devastating. I'm at 16, and then my opponent makes some cats. Then I go fetch to 15, shock to 13, important number there. Cast the Pyroclasm. I will get burned for 5. 1. And due to the power of editing, we will jump directly to 5, bringing me to 8. Then I will cast a Death Shadow. I am at 8 on turn 3. Flage. So that's going at my face. And then they're going to sacrifice the Flage, putting me to 4. And then just an ETB tapped land. Abigale is like crazy good here. I will just look for basically any live card. I don't think that counts. Then 1 and 2. Abigale on Death's Shadow. 13/13, flying, first strike, lifelink, bringing me up to 17 immediately. We're undefeated with OwlShadow so far. Hot damn. GG's. Alright, I would categorize this hand as not perfect. Our black land is an ETB tapped land for Moonshadow purposes, but we can grow a Moonshadow, so I think this is going to be okay overall. I have better hits than Counterspell right now. It's a fine card that I would not be disappointed to draw, but if I get a black land, for example, I can play Moonshadow and Thoughtseize in the same turn cycle, which feels kind of big. Prismatic Vista Gamer of some kind. Basic Forest. Vexing Bauble. Wow, punished for not playing out Mishra's Bauble immediately, I guess. So there's Moonshadow. Fetch. Row Moonshadow. I'm going to deal 2 to myself here with Watery Grave. And Thoughtseize you. Okay, so this is that Eldrazi combo thing. And an Emrakul, the Promised End. Wild. And then Eldrazi Temple, meaning my opponent can play a Glaring Fleshraker. I can answer the second Glaring Fleshraker with this. I'm going to take the thing that just combos and kills me if my opponent finds the other piece. Now, notably, I can potentially just feed Vexing Bobble, Mishra's Bobble, or some Bobble on Bobble violence that grows my Moonshadow. Alright. I can go to exactly 13. I want to be below 13. That'll probably naturally happen. Let's be real. I'm going to do this. I think I'm just going to do this. Let Vexing Bobble counter it. Send in for 3 with Menace. Death Shadow is not going to be amazing versus Glaring Flushraker. So let's Stern Scolding that spell. I'm still going to take 1 from the spawn and probably 2 from an attack here as well. Is that a Grove? Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm very glad that I took the other half of this combo then. So this could still potentially turn a Glaring Flushraker into a decent-sized entity. Down to 9, I don't have any removal. Stubborn Denial. Okay. My Death Shadow is very conveniently a 4/4, but my opponent is going to be playing more creatures than not in all likelihood. So my non-creature counterspell is perhaps not going to be at its best. That's a Malevolent Rumble. I will absolutely just counter that. I'm just getting something out of my spell. We'll see if my opponent wants to cycle Vexing Bobble or get this equipped. All right, they do. This is a +1/+1 counter? Yes. All right. Another Moonshadow. Sure. So now things start getting weird. I think I'm sending in still. Yep. Now my opponent can sack both of their spawns. Okay. Oh wow, did they find Dismember? So they're dismembering my Death Shadow, which is going to cause Blade of the Blood Chief to trigger again. That's up to a 5/5. And then 6/6. Well, that went much worse for me than I was expecting. I was expecting to lose the Moonshadow on the attack and get about 4 damage in, and I did get 4 damage in, just very much not the way that I was expecting to. So I will take a hit here, and drawing something like a Shoulder's Edict would be cool. Land drop. Another Moonshadow. So I will play this Moonshadow with the intention of blocking with it. Send in with that one. Opponent to 6. Opponent very close to dead. But I'm also quite close to dead. Oh god. So I'm just dead. Walking Ballista gets to ping me for the final point of damage. Alrighty. GG. And signs seem great here. I'm thinking about the Pyroclasm effects. They seem okay. Stern Scolding also pretty reasonable. Maybe I don't need to go into red here. It may just be that I'm very good at countering things. Let's sub out the slower counter spells here. Thoughtseize less important now. Still might need that to lower my life total. I might do something like this. I'm going to say this is fine. I need another land. Hopefully Street Wraith gets me there. I have Street Wraith and Draw Step. Curve into a Psychic Frog. And if I miss, I just hold up Stern Scolding for a turn while attacking for a Delver-ish amount of damage. But this has the potential to Goldfish extremely quick. Oh, wow, a Gemstone Caverns. That's going to bring my opponent down to fewer cards than they would probably like. They have 4. They'll have 5 after they draw. Touch. Shock. Moonshadow. Cycle immediately. Let's just always yield to that. Okay. Reasonable assortment of cards. Would very much like another land, though. All right. Ancient Stirrings. So opponent gets some selection. And Eldrazi Temple is great. And Blade of the Blood Chief comes down. Sure. All right. Miss on immediate land drop. I have 2 different spells available and am pretty close to just playing a Death Shadow as well. Oh, opponent's just passing. I don't like that. I want to use my mana. We're now getting a pause in my upkeep. I wonder if there is some Dismember style card. That is a Kozilek's Command. That doesn't get countered by Stern Scolding, unfortunately. New Moonshadow is fine to play out. I think I'm just going to hold up Stern Scolding, though. All right. So unlike in Legacy, this does not necessarily shut off all the counterspells. In Legacy, this just shuts off all the dazes and forces. Stern Scolding, not looking hot here. Groves, Eldrazi Temples. Something, something, something. Alternate art not being readable in situations like this. Something, something, something. Fuck. Alright. Well, now Stern Scolding isn't online. Nor is Stubborn Denial. Okay, I think the combination of my opponent having Cavern of Souls and me missing on land drops in 3 draw steps plus a cycle just means that I'm not going to play much Magic here. Let's see if my opponent has a payoff card. Oh, whatever it is fucking huge. Gonna be like a turn 4 Emrakul. Sire of the Seven Deaths. Uh-huh. Yeah, no, that's bad. I have like one Goldred's Edict that is a super clean answer to that. Nope. We will go ahead and call it there. With my opponent equipping Blade of the Blood Chief and sacrificing one of these, this kills me cleanly in 2 shots. So I can't draw land plus Edict. GG. Alright, opening hand just is not functional in any capacity without mana. Second hand is fine. I think I'm going to keep the removal spell and put the Death Shadow back in the deck. And hopefully Moonshadow just kind of goes the distance here. Dock to 17, Moonshadow. We will double bobble. Opponent has Pact of Negation. I guess I saved the other one and I'll see something else they're drawing. But this presumably does not bode well for me. I don't know what Pact of Negation means in Modern, but I can tell you that every time I face that card in Legacy, the deck is some horse shit. The opponent may end up with a Preordain, but probably not. Draw a card with Bobble. Cycle a Street Wraith immediately. Pick up a Psychic Frog. We're going to go ahead and maximize damage here in terms of Goldfish speed. I'm going to imagine that my life total is not relevant, whatever is going on over there. I'm going to lower for Death Shadow purposes. Play out a Psychic Frog. Go to Punchies. Send in for 5. Psychic Frog. Discard a permanent for Moonshadow. And Psychic Frog, discard a permanent for Moonshadow. I'm attacking for 7 on turn 2 with a Moonshadow. Opponent has Hedge Maze, so they are not getting Preordain. Opponent at 12. They're dead next turn, right? 10 plus 1 plus card for turn 2. 12. I Goldfish on turn 3 with Moonshadow into Psychic Frog. Generous Ent. Okay. Here's an Abigale. Yeah. That is a turn 3 Goldfish. This interaction is sweet. I'm glad these aren't legal side by side in Legacy. This is some shit. GG. I have no fucking idea what my opponent is playing. A quick search says that it is something called Allosaurus Combo, which appears to be some Neoform horseshit. Okay. I'm not going to try to figure out how that deck works. We'll figure it out live. No. Probably not. No. You turn into one of those. I don't think Fatal Push is relevant. So these cycle. That land is a mana source. I'll take another Consign in case it's relevant. I just want to keep something aggressive that can maybe Thoughtseize or has actual factual counterspell. But it looks like my opponent has like Packs and Veils of Summer and shit. Easy mulligan. Hand does not do anything. I think seeing the power of the previous hand with the Goldfish speed that is capable, like this deck is capable of with Moonshadow into Psychic Frog, should maybe be mulliganing even more aggressively than I already am. This is fine. It doesn't have the threat, but I don't know that I should throw back a hand that has 3 lands and 3 counterspells versus a known combo deck. Hedge Maze. Opponent keeps a card. Oh, hot damn. I will get a threat into play. And Moonshadow is so good that it can probably be the only threat that I play out the entire game. Nice. So, fetch. Always yield to this. Assume that decreasing my life total is good, with a Death Shadow in hand. Send in for 2. 18. Planar Genesis. Sure. I don't want to fight over that and then get got by a real card. So my opponent puts a card into their hand since I didn't do a land into play, and is just passing the turn. Sure. I will go land drop, fetch, Watery Grave, shock, think this is worth playing. I'm not willing to tap out for a Psychic Frog. Send in for 3. And then I will probably not tap mana on my own turn for the rest of the game after this. This is now a 3-turn clock that will probably increase pretty naturally. Opponent is on hard discarding cards now. Hooting and Mandrills. I'm just going to hold up multiple counter spells here. Down to 10. So this is currently just a counter unless opponent pays 1. I think since my opponent is mana screwed, I just stubborn denial that. But I don't really know what my opponent is doing, so please don't take my approach on this matchup as gospel. Summoner's Pact may resolve. That is an Allosaurus Rider 2-hand. My opponent casts while leaving mana floating. I guess I need to look at what this deck does next. So Neoform costs 2 mana, so I think I just let my opponent cast a Neoform after this. Then that way this is out of the way. So then I counterspell the Neoform. Opponent does have Pact of Negation. I tried to stop this to keep them from doing something cool by like casting spells. So there's a Xenagos. What? Okay, cool. So this is a combo that just kills on 2 mana with Pact of Negation backup. Hate that. Okay. So if I don't counter that land spell, the Stubborn Denial potentially just gets turned off by a land drop there. Yeah, so I think I like what I did. Eldred's Edict technically interacts with my opponent's stuff. Okay, I guess a consign trigger on that Xenagos haste thing is relevant, technically, but unexciting. Yeah, this is fine. Growing a Moonshadow aggressively and then giving it Lifelink with Abigale could get me outside of range of that combo. Although I still might be just aggressively lowering my life total because of Death Shadow. So there's Moonshadow. There's Bobble. See what you are drawing. Just a land drop. I'll pass. Draw a card. A Hedge Maze. Eldritch Evolution. Okay, so there's also a 2-mana version of this. Noted. I'm going to Thoughtseize you and see what's going on. So there's a Neoform and an Eldritch Evolution. This is not going to be a creature to sacrifice to these things. There's also just 5 to cast. Seems unrealistic. I'll take the Neoform here. I think my approach here is fetch into Surveil Land. This is fine. This will be a counterspell. By the time I draw it, hit for 3, and I can largely hold up mana for the rest of the game. I think I'm going to just guarantee that Stubborn Denial is online by making this into a 4-power creature. We can Surveil later. We'll keep lowering my life total, I think. I will just hold up both counterspells. Creature will kill fast enough. Opponent surveils. Saying no to a land. There's a Misty. So let's surveil. Blood Crypt can go directly to graveyard. Throw Moonshadow. Cycle Street Wraith. Throw Moonshadow. Moonshadow is now a 2-turn clock. And I have 3 different pieces of interaction available to me. Seems good. Down to 6. Down to 5. Opponent can surveil yet again. This is so much Hedge Maze. Planar Genesis goes bye-bye. Land drop 4. Okay, opponent concedes the match, and we do win that one, despite the fact that I really did not know what I was doing. Opponent has revealed their hand to me. I'm not going to pretend that I know what this commander-ass shit does. GG's. Alright. My opponent has revealed a Kahira. I don't really know what that means in this format. My opening hand doesn't really do anything, despite having a reasonable mix of lands and spells. It could do something. Given how quickly some of the Moonshadow Psychic Frog stuff goldfishes, I might just fish. This is a below average hand with 2 redraws. This is something I want to line up with an Abigale, but is otherwise medium without another damage source already. Player draw. Draw? Moonshadow's great. Abigale's great. Psychic Frog is great. 3 looks. I'm gonna keep it. I have no format knowledge. Wait, I'm on the play. Well, whoops. 2 draws. Bobble. Target you. Emptiness. White, white, reanimate. Black, black. Try to kill a thing. I will go ahead and do this in case I need to fatal push something. Take my redraw. Doubters in shambles. Are we full on elementals? Hell yeah. Although honestly, the Rock Sasha is just gonna be better, assuming I get the land to make Abigale work. Hand's not perfect. We knew that going in. Maybe the hand's a mulligan though, if like hitting Abigale does not directly lead to me doing this combo. Opponent's mana base is wild. Are we just mono elementals? Yeah, sure, you can bounce my creature. Just Dirtle elemental control. Psychic Frog. It was 3 on this. 3? They're -1 counters too. I want to make you use resources on this shit. So my evaluation of these elementals in Legacy was that they just like are pretty clearly not good enough for what they are doing. This is cute. So there's a Solitude. So now whenever my opponent plays one of these elementals, they look at the top card of their library. If it's a land, they get it into play tapped. If they don't, they put it into their hand. So I don't currently have Revolt for Fatal Push. So things are not perfect over here. God, another Risen Wraith. Yes. So these see each other. This is kind of cool. Does this now get to bounce my Psychic Frog while drawing my opponent 2 cards? This is sweet. I don't know how competitive it is, but it's pretty fucking sweet. I will take 1 when this is all said and done. Opponent has 5 cards in hand, a billion lands in play. Counterspells get worse because of Cavern of Souls. My opponent's good at finding Cavern of Souls with Risen Reef. Sick. So there's a Moonshadow. Here's a fetch. We'll go for the Watery Grave. I will Fatal Push 1 copy of Risen Reef. And I'm passing my turn there. I don't know that I'm going to have the card advantage to keep up with my opponent this game. I am interested in staying in the game to see what other horse shit I can see. Okay. What is this? Elemental land. Okay, so we just have all the rainbow lands. So there's the second land drop, meaning that my opponent gets 4 mana. This is pretty sick. They are now at the point where they can cast the more expensive elementals, like for their 6 cost, and get both abilities there. Yeah, so what is this art? What am I looking at? I don't know. Anyway, they get to Lightning Bolt something and then search for a land card. So that is a way to find Cavern of Souls. Well, they just get a basic forest. I don't know this one. Is this the elemental? Yeah, okay. Make 2 mana for elementals. Alright, opponent is cooking. I'm probably dead to this. So this is 4, 8, 9, 10, 11-ish power in play, depending on what exactly you count. Yeah, I'm gonna concede here. Opponent's got it. GG. That was sweet. And their blue bouncy elemental Deceit is pretty good against me just wanting to dump counters into Moonshadow and Psychic Frog. So Pyroclasm clears the Risen Reefs, but is not going to clear a lot of the elementals. Consign's weird. The triggers matter. My opponent should have very consistent access to Cavern of Souls. My counterspells aren't great. So I am never touching, I think, the Creature Suite and the Fatal Pushes. I think I'm never touching Abigale due to the potential of ending the game with a large Death Shadow. I don't think I'm touching Edict. I don't think I'm touching Thoughtseize. That leaves this stuff as things that I can realistically think about adjusting. I think I'm going to play Consigns over Counterspells, despite the weird value proposition that is. Actually, Stubborn Denials feel really bad. Blood Crypt in 2 Pyroclasm to clear Risen Reef. Turn Scolding as something that I can leave up for less mana versus Risen Reef. But, like, again, the counter spells are not the best here. Okay. If I am not disrupted, this goldfish is incredibly quickly. Down to 17. There's Moonshadow. I don't know how out of line I try to get with just going all in on Psychic Frog immediately. My guess is that it is not correct to go wild here. I will keep lowering my life total though. So I will play a frog. Just send in for 2. Opponent to 18. Another land drop. So this is the 3 -1 -1 counters on something, which I imagine gets aimed at Psychic Frog. It does. I don't think I'm going to try to save that here. I will just play another one instead. Moonshadow gets bigger. Oh, shit. Okay. So, fetch. 13. Down to 11. There's a Psychic Frog. There's a Death Shadow. In for 4. Opponent to 14. They have land drop 3. Risen Reef. Which hopefully I will get out of the way with a Fatal Push. I do hit another land drop though. Oh, Endurance. So they're just doing that to trigger Risen Reef. And maybe keep my Psychic Frog from getting flying next turn. I don't want those lands back in my deck. 1, 2, 3. Stern Scolding. I'm so close to having a good turn. One's just going to take this hit. Go to 7. Undercity Sewers. So I will play Undercity Sewers, a Street Wraith. Street Wraith is kind of interesting here. I will keep that. So if my opponent removes one of my creatures, Fatal Push is online. That is an Omnoth. That does not have things for Stern Scolding. So Risen Reef trigger, getting a Ziggurat. My opponent gains some life, which is kind of huge here. There's a Waterlogged Grove. That's a bunch of mana. Alright, that one I can counter. There's a Flame Braider. I can Fatal Push that. And I will just Fatal Push it, even though there are better creatures on board. I'm trying to just end this game here. I am fine doing this now. I can give Psychic Frog flying. So here's Moonshadow. 1, 2, 3. Psychic Frog has flying. I believe a block is required from my opponent. So there's a double block on Death Shadow. I am good with this as it stands. I will kill Omnoth. I will grow both Moonshadows. Draw a card. I will Fatal Push the shit out of Risen Reef. Then I will play a Bauble and grow both copies of Moonshadow. Opponent drawing Vibrance. That's the green-red. That's the green-red one. That can potentially get rid of a Moonshadow, but not anymore. And now the 7/7 Moonshadow that I have probably kills my opponent. So this is Emptiness, which will be a reanimation effect and a shrink effect. Getting back a Risen Reef. Shrinking, but not killing a Moonshadow. Flying and lifelink counter here is 7. I think I'm letting this go. Risen Reef comes back. I think I'm good. I can double check. Thoughtseize target you. Those cards are irrelevant. You are dead. Yeah and yeah. Counters on Moonshadow for flying. Make Psychic Frog fly as well. Alright, GG. We're now tied. I gotta win again. We did some powerful stuff there. I guess I could also play Spellbomb for Emptiness is the Orzhov one. Feels mid. Pyroclasm also feels mid. Counterspells are weird. I think I'm going to get rid of these and play 2 more Stern Scoldings. It answers Risen Reef for less mana, kind of. Okay, I mean, opening hand has Moonshadow and Bauble to grow it, and a Death Shadow as a follow-up threat. I like a lot of what I see here. Alright, Stern Scolding off the table. That is unfortunate, but fine. I have a lot of land, though. Watery Grave. Moonshadow. Bauble. Take a Peaksy. Always yield to that. What is that? Subtlety. Okay. That was not one that I had seen yet. I'm not overly surprised by it. Is a 3/3? Okay, so that is not countered by Stern Scolding. Next land drop, Uncounterable Flame Braider. Sure. We're now pausing in my upkeep. I wonder if there is a Solitude in my future. Not yet. Abigale Death Shadow on the table. Let's dismiss this. Thoughtseize you. Multiple Omnoths. I guess I'll take one. I will then fetch. Watery Grave down to 12. Cast a Death Shadow. My opponent can technically subtlety it. They choose not to. I attack for 3. Opponent to 17. Maybe I should have taken Subtlety in hopes of resolving Abigale on my next turn. Yeah, I think that was correct. I was thinking about what if I draw Fatal Push for Omnoth. Alright, there's Omnoth and Unclaimed Territory gone. Opponent gains some life. Yeah, I think I should have taken Subtlety. Alright, there's Abigale. Oh, nice. Abigale on Death Shadow. 13/13, flying, first strike, lifelink. Send in. Fetch. Throw Moonshadow. I don't care about my life total anymore. For Death Shadow purposes, I will just get a basic. Hold up Stern Scolding in the short term. What a life swing. Stern Scolding is unlikely to be relevant. So, land drop. That is a Deceit. So my opponent can bounce my Death Shadow now. Okay. And they take it, which just grows my Moonshadow. Like, at 24 life, the Death Shadow does not do anything. So my Moonshadow is a 7/7. I can trade it with one of these. Let's see what I'm drawing. Bloodstained Mire. I will then fetch, Surveil Undercity Sewers, Fatal Push. Okay. I will keep that. Next turn, I Fatal Push and Omnoth, get that out of the way. And then hopefully swing for lethal with Moonshadow. And still send this in. No hidden flying reach or anything there. Yeah. Opponent to 6. There's my redraw. Alright, no attacks. We are chilling. Blood Crypt the draw. Not impressive. So do this. 3/3. My Moonshadow, again, is kind of in this awkward spot in terms of attacking, where my opponent can play Subtlety, block with Deceit, Subtlety. I think I'm just attacking with Abigale, and when an Elemental goes on the stack, I kill Omnoth. Death by 1,000 cuts. Oh fuck, this one flies. Fuck. Oh, also Endurance. Alright, I think Abigale just dies. I think I accept that, but this lets me keep this fetch land in play. So there's Revolt, and I think I just take this out. Menace, oddly not quite good enough here. Oof, that's a Solitude, which can't be countered. So Stern Scolding not doing its job. I think the tides have fully turned in favor of my opponent here. Like, I am at 32 life, but my opponent will chonk through it quickly. 24. Fetch. Sewers. Sign. Not what I'm looking for here. That's another whiff. The 3, 6, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, I die in 2 turns to this, and my opponent can add to their board and hardcast a Subtlety. Alright, I think Dirtily Elemental deck gets us there. We still overall end up positive in the league, though. GG's. Alright, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Overall thoughts on the deck list. I think there is still tuning to be done here, but I was actually impressed by Abigale a number of times in this league, where giving flying to a creature unexpectedly finished a game, or just making Death Shadow so much scarier than it already might have been, was impressive. Maybe you can change the disruption package around a little bit. It's a little weird to be playing actual factual counterspell when you repeatedly want to tap out for the cards that look like these. Does the deck improve with a couple of Nethergoyfs and more 1-mana counterspells? Do I go up on things that look like Rot Curse, Rakshasa? if I add Nethergoyfs to the deck, are there more playable discard spells you could play on one? I don't know. I think you can explore this a little further and refine it. The Pyroclasms out of the sideboard were pretty good, and honestly probably felt necessary to win energy style matchups. I like what is here. I am glad that I did a lot of editing to what was originally submitted. This felt pretty competitive with more format knowledge, maybe with some tuning. Maybe this is somewhat real. Moonshadow into Psychic Frog is some absolute horseshit. 10 out of 10 would do that again. So glad Psychic Frog is not legal in Legacy, because, like, this Moonshadow into Psychic Frog feels like absolutely Legacy power level. And, like, the fact that you can just Goldfish on turn 3 with that feels kind of unacceptable. Anything you can do to kind of make that play pattern better is probably really good. With that, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. I've got a Pathfinder session to get ready for, and my GM says it's perhaps the scariest fight we've ever done. So, have a good rest of the day. Maybe I won't. See ya.